Morning, Bo. Good morning. This is a second video on how to make clay from the wild. In our last video, we learned where to get clay, and we were able to find some riverbank clay and some sandy soil from the side of a reservoir. So now I'm going to take that clay and I'm going to reconstitute it, make it into a workable form. So back out here at the garden, and things are sprouting up. Look forward to seeing what we can do with this clay today. Well, what I did was, over the last 2 weeks, I just let this clay dry out in the shed. I laid it out on this board, and it's now become quite bone dry. I'm gonna smash this clay up and see if I can't grind it into powder. So maybe it'd be best if we go on out to the farm to process the clay out there. I think it just has better resources that I can use, and so we're gonna head out to my dad's farm just north of Kent and process some clay. All right, you might be wondering about the mask. Obviously it's week 6 of the quarantine. Now my wife, she refuses to wear a mask in the car.
What?
Or anywhere for that matter.
Anywhere.
So even though I'm wearing a mask and following the directives, my wife is a little bit rebellious in that. So anyways, if you see a person wearing a mask in a car, don't hate on them. Don't hate on them.
But that's dumb.
Just trying to be safe. Morning, Dad. We're out here at the farm and the headwaters of Tinker's Creek. Crazy dog. Alright, back out here at the farm, and I'm going to take some of this clay and I'm going to just pulverize it down, see how much gravel's in it, see if I need to screen it. Right? So this clay is Ohio blue clay, and what it is really it's just decomposed feldspar. What I'm going to do is just grind up this clay, make it into a powder. I chose to do this dry instead of wet. Some people would process their clay using a wet method. I'm choosing to do this dry. This dust coming off there, you don't want to breathe, so a good dust mask would be helpful. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this little rough grid to just take out the biggest stones. It's raw piece of clay. I'm just going to break it down, and I'm going to put it in water, and I'm going to mix it up really well and then let it settle to see just kind of what I can see visually what the clay is. All right, what I'm going to do is let this settle. And what's going to happen is the biggest chunks of gravel are going to settle out first. And then we're going to get seeing what the next clay band's going to be. And then we're going to see if there's any organic material on top. So it should be gravel, sand, clay, maybe some organic material. So we're going to set that aside just as a test. We'll look at that later. So the first mesh that I ran this through was pretty open. It had about 3/8 of an inch holes. So I'm gonna, this is just a metal sifter used for coyote trapping. So now I'm gonna move to a fish trap, has a little bit smaller holes, they have about 1/4 inch holes, and I'm gonna sift it through here. Just a minnow trap, but I have it cut a little bit bigger so I can use it for catching crawdads. That would be poor man's lobster to you. All right, just put some window screen in the bottom of this tray, and I'm just going to try to screen this out now in real fine mesh. All right, now that we have screened this down to less than a 1/16 of an inch, I have very fine clay. Now I have a thought about this. I don't know if this clay is going to hold together as a clay body, so I'm going to mix it with some of that sandy clay that we found. I want to have less feldspar and more silica in this mix. All right, I'm just breaking up some of this clay. This is kind of the wet method. I'm going to pour that through the strainer, see how this works. That worked pretty good. Oh yeah. Stop digging. Crazy dog. So I've already got some clay made and mixed, blended clay with silica and the ball clay. Now I'm going to do just straight riverbank clay and see what happens. I'm going to make some projects out of this and out of that and see which one does the best in the firing process. Alright, what I have here is just straight clay from the riverbank. And so what we're looking for in clay is it to be very plastic, not too gritty. It's going to hold together really well. And this is, because I didn't sift it super fine, it has a little bit of grit to it. But I'm going to make some project out of this just to see how that's going to do with the firing process. My theory is it won't do as well as the clay that I mix sand or silica into. I wedge that up a little bit. I can see that this clay body is, you can really almost see the silica in the clay body from that bank sand. So we're going to see how that holds together. So next video, I'm going to have some things made, and then I'm going to fire up using some kind of a wood fire method. So this is how we make clay from the wild. Go. All right. I'm going to make some simple forms, something that I think is going to survive the firing process. So this clay, which is a nice mix of the different clays, is much more flexible, much more pliable. It's less short, it doesn't crack as much, and much easier to work with. As you can see, with really minimal effort and very little technology, we're well on our way to making some really nice bowls for utilitarian wear. We're on the blueberry farm and just got a text that the blueberry cobbler's ready. So we're going to go in for a bit. Thank you. What's your words of wisdom, Dad?
Don't send your mother out for rum.
I like that.
No.
Well, I helped Grandma plant her garden this year, and so Ella Spellman, 103. How you feeling?
I'm feeling all right,
Awesome, awesome.
but I can't claim possession of it.
Right.
It's your garden.
Oh, well, I'm helping you with your garden. All in a good day's work.